Hey guys, ECRG here, back with another episode. Today I'd like to give my thoughts on ACRP 2019. So I had the good fortune of being able to attend this year's ACRP. It was located in Nashville, Tennessee. So if you're familiar with America, Nashville's kind of in the center of the country, center east of the country. It's in the central time zone. And this was actually my first time in Nashville. So I had to try some of the Nashville hot chicken, and it's pretty hot, but it's so delicious, very crispy. Got the nice hot glaze on it, the nice hot sauce, and then all the seasonings on it. So incredibly delicious chicken. So if you're ever in Nashville, you got to try it. But of course, the highlight of the weekend was ACRP, and this was my first ACRP that I've been to, and really my first conference in clinical research that I've attended. But ACRP, I believe, is the largest, if not one of the largest conferences in clinical research. So they invite anybody who's ever involved in clinical research. So whether you're a CRO, whether you are a pharmaceutical company, whether you're a vendor of these companies, someone who does like eSource, or someone who does basically anything related to clinical research and clinical trials, marketing. They had a bunch of marketing companies there that specifically do marketing in clinical research space. So they had anybody there in clinical research, and they took over a whole big section of the conference, of the convention center, right next door to the Country Music Hall of Fame, and right next door to the Omni Hotel downtown, where a lot of people I know were staying for the conference. So it was a great location, downtown Nashville, right around the corner from Broadway Street, which is really crazy. It reminded me a lot of New Orleans, but you've got a lot of bars that are open all day long. I'm sitting there walking around in Nashville, middle of the day around lunchtime on Thursday, because the conference didn't start till Friday. So I'm in there. I got there on Thursday, and it's just crazy. It is just, blaring loud music. People are drinking. People are having a good time. So Nashville's a good city, especially if you like country music. I'm not the biggest country music fan. I do like that song Old Town Road, but I'm not the biggest country music fan. But if you like country music and you like that kind of atmosphere, you would love Nashville. It's a party place for sure. People are there all times of the day, all times of the night, just having a good time. So overall, great location for ACRP 2019. And, I pretty much, didn't do much on Friday, because a lot of Friday was the paid type, you had to pay extra for those sessions. So I ended up getting the full pass. So it paid for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And then a lot of the free sessions where you didn't have to register in advance for them, you just kind of show up, happened on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Now, I, of course, was flying out on Monday, so didn't get to really attend those sessions. So the bulk of the sessions that I attended were on Saturday and Sunday. And so kind of how, it's set up is, you're not required to stay in there, from 9 to 5 or however long the sessions are going on. People are just kind of coming and going all day long to the sessions they want to hear, and then they skip out on the sessions they don't want to hear. But, a lot of different sessions are going on at one time. So they pretty much started the morning with, they had coffee set up. We can get some coffee. They had one big lecture, as you can kind of see in the footage that I have here if you're watching on YouTube. They had a big hall where they could probably fit, I don't know, hundreds of people in there, and they would have like a big overall general lecture on, let's say, like the state of the industry or something like that. I'm going to pull up my ACRP app here so I could, give the specifics. Let's see, Friday. Yeah, so the big lecture was at like 9 every morning. No, is that from 8 to 9 every morning? Yeah, 8 to 9 every morning. So, the Saturday session was Evolution of the Clinical Research Workforce for the Future. So that was in the Grand Ballroom. They'd have something like that. And then around lunchtime, they would have something else similar to that too, like an hour-long lecture, usually from, the person running ACRP or, something like that. This one was, set extraordinary expectations. So a big overall outlook on the clinical research industry. And then they would break you up into smaller groups, so with different rooms around the convention center. So I'm just going to name a few different topics they had. Applying Six Sigma tools and concepts to your clinical research activities. That was one. Another one was integrating quality into investigator-initiated clinical trials. Another one was getting multi-center studies under control with technology. And, all of these, they probably had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different sessions going on around in the same time zone, in the same time frame. So from 10:15 to 12:15 or 10:15 to 11:15. So they had no shortage of sessions going on, and usually you'd be able to find something that you were interested in. So a lot of the sessions that I participated in were not specifically directed to CRAs, and I did that strategically because I kind of wanted to get a better understanding of life from the site perspective, or just life in the clinical research space from someone else's perspective. I did attend some of the CRA things, but most of the ones that I attended were not. So I did a couple on eSource, just because I think that is very interesting. I think because, a lot of the issues that we have on site, I think could be fixed with eSource. Like, for example, like with a study coordinator not collecting a certain data point, or, forgetting to weigh the patient during doing collection of vital signs, something simple like that. Whereas with eSource, you're going to be required to enter in a value before you can go to the next page, or, things like that. I just think eSource is a better way to, keep control of the data, and is a much better way to make sure everything is going well than paper source, where people are making their own source documents. Some of the sponsors are creating their source documents, and then you've got sites not following those and wanting to create their own. So I think eSource is something that is very could be very important for the future, and I'll do another video on that later. Some of the things I learned about that. This is just an overall video. But yeah, so they had a bunch of these sessions, and I thought they were very, very good, but they were very, very broad. People would prepare like lecture slides and kind of go over them, and then they would also have kind of discussion around it too. And I thought people stepping up to the microphone and kind of, putting their own input and their own experience into things made it very, very interesting. And, I really enjoyed that. They also had something called Learning Lab. So one of the session was, leveraging technology to improve monitoring in clinical trials. Well, this was in the Grand Hall where they had, all the CROs and all the companies set up their own little booth. You had companies like Parexel, you had companies like Syneos Health, these pretty large CROs. And then you also had smaller companies that were trying to sell their own services and products too. But in the corner, they had something called Learning Lab, which the speaker would speak into a microphone, and the microphone would lead to a headset. And so each person in the so-called audience had a headset, so you could listen to the speaker. And I thought that was cool. I've never seen that before. So that was Learning Lab. And, they had a couple cool sessions there with those too. So really a lot to offer at ACRP. And, I thought it was very successful for my first one. This is something that I could see myself coming to again. So 2020 will be in Seattle, and maybe I'll vlog a little bit more of it. But, I couldn't really vlog too much because, I didn't want to just record people's presentations specifically. So I have a little bit of footage that you can kind of see if you're watching on YouTube that I did get. One from the expo hall, so you can kind of see what it's like inside the expo hall with all the booths set up. And then a couple other in-presentation photos and videos that I have too, so you can kind of see. ACRP is very expensive to attend also, I will say that. I did get the full pass, and I think it was like about $2,000 for the week, just for the, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. The weekend pass is cheaper. I think it's around $1,500 or, just over $1,000, where you just go for Saturday, Sunday. And I think that is definitely more cost effective, and I think that's what most people would do. And I would probably do that again myself too. I definitely do think it can be beneficial, but most people there are probably, their company is paying for it, their attendance. I don't think a lot of people just went on their own and are not expensing it to something, or maybe it's a business expense for their business or whatever. I don't think people are just coming up with all that money out of pocket because you got to pay for that. I mean, that's just the conference fee, $2,000. You got to pay for flights, then you got to pay for food and entertainment on top of that. So that's definitely something to think about. A lot of companies do pay for it, especially because it is learning. You're sitting in these modules and sessions all day, so you are learning a lot. So that's something to keep in mind too. But I don't think after a few, if you do a few ACRPs, I don't think it's something you have to keep coming back to. I think once you've kind of been to one or two, you kind of done them all, and that's kind of the vibe I got from a lot of people. Really, the ROI comes from the networking and seeing old friends, old colleagues. I saw a lot of people, really excited about seeing each other there, and it's kind of like an old family reunion type of thing, type of feel. So there's that. Also, like if you're in the market looking for a job, CRA, project manager, data manager, but specifically as a CRA, wow, will you be bombarded when you're there? I didn't really talk about this on the channel a lot, but before the weeks leading up to ACRP, I was getting emails every single day from recruiters wanting to meet up at their booth and making sure I stopped by their booth and talking to them. And, I didn't really know what ACRP was like, so I didn't really schedule any of these meetings. I was like, I don't want to be, kind of boxed in at a specific time to meet, just because it is my first time. So I just kind of want to go with the flow. But I received tons of these emails trying to meet up, or make sure you stop by our booth, or, we really want to meet you, or are you looking for a position, et cetera, et cetera. And, ACRP is a great place to network. That's where the ROI is at these conferences, is to make sure that you network. So that's something I'd keep in mind when you attend. And I'll do another episode on that too, more specifically about the networking aspect. But I really just wanted to give my thoughts on ACRP. So it was very good. It was a lot of fun. Great networking opportunity. Got a handful of business cards that I definitely want to reach out to those people too. So obviously when you get business cards, you've got to add them on LinkedIn and send them a quick note so they remember who you are. And that's typically how networking is done. So wrapping up this episode, ACRP, very, very good. It's not, if you feel like you can't afford it, I wouldn't say that you need to fork over money or spend your life savings on going. It's just a conference that I was, given the opportunity to go to. I think one of the ways that you could go for cheaper is to potentially volunteer or volunteer to speak. So that's another way that people end up going for free. I think they waive your conference fee or something along those lines if you volunteer to speak. But overall great conference. It's definitely networking heavy. I don't feel like I learned anything specifically that would better affect my job or help me be a better CRA or anything like that. I definitely feel like I'm the same CRA as I was before. But I think a lot of the discussions were very interesting, and a lot of the topics that they had as modules that you could attend, I think were interesting also. So good experience. I would probably do another conference if you want to actually learn and get more in depth about your particular job. There's probably a much better conference or opportunity for you out there. But overall, it's just an overall conference in the industry, depending on what you want. If you just want a nice, relaxed conference, not too pushy, not too salesy, just kind of go, meet some people, learn a couple things, talk to some people. ACRP is great for that. And so that's what I would say. Take care, guys.